You are listening to the Husker Performance Podcast, presented by Midwest Dairy and your local farm families. Here is your host, Jessica Coody.
Welcome into the next installment of the Huskers Performance Podcast, presented by Midwest Dairy. I'm Jessica Coody. Your local farm families want to help you reset yourself with dairy, and this season we're discussing a variety of topics to help you do that. And certainly one of the ways our student athletes do that is by volunteering their time and giving back to the community. Our life skills department here at Nebraska is really second to none. So we're going to talk about some life skills and all the ways that our Husker student athletes get involved. So we appreciate Keith Zimmer, the Executive Associate AD for Life Skills, for joining us. Keith, how's it going?
It's going good, Jessica. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been awesome for me since I got here to work with your team and your department. You guys do so many things, but I wanted to start with your background. How did you get to Nebraska? You're starting your 36th season, right? This is your 36th year. So how did you get here in the first place?
Yeah, so I finished my graduate work at Springfield College in athletic administration, and being a Nebraska native, the dream was to come back and work for Nebraska Athletics. Showed up and went in and met with Bob Devaney, and he said, you know, we can find a place for you in academics. And so I ended up starting out as an academic athletic counselor, working with a number of sports, but it was Coach Osborne who could also see a vision that we needed to do more than just academics and athletics, and we needed to develop our student athletes beyond their sport. And that was really kind of the creation of the life skills program. You know, a lot of our athletes, you ask them what they want to do, and they either didn't know at that time, or of course they want to be a pro. And you know, Jessica, that those stats aren't very good when it comes to professional athletics. So certainly we support our athletes who have that dream to be a pro, but we have to do our part to get them ready for the next 40 years. And that's really what the Life Skills Department does. We try to enrich, develop, prepare, and make them uniquely competitive so they can win off the field and win the game of life. And I think we've grown to where we are a leader, and we're definitely making an impact.
Absolutely. What made you interested in that when Coach Osborne came to you with this idea? And why did he pick you, I guess?
Well, I've always had an interest in helping and serving and giving back, and certainly an interest in athletics. My background was in counseling as an undergraduate, and initially out of college I did protective service work, you know, working with children and families and trying to reunite and pull things together. So it was a good fit. And again, just to be involved with Nebraska Athletics and serve student athletes, that's always been the ultimate goal, and that's really where I've dedicated my career to.
There's so many different layers to life skills, and we're going to dive into all of that. But when you first started it, what did it look like, and what kind of vision did you have for it those first few years?
Yeah, so in 1987, Nebraska was one of 6 schools invited to the NCAA headquarters. Back then it was in Overland Park, Kansas. And really you could build it one piece at a time. And as a one-person operation, that's exactly what we did. And our first component was career development. Then down the road, we added the community service piece, then the education, you know, the proactive education, then development, and then some post-eligibility opportunities. And now, as you know, Jessica, we're doing things in name, image, and likeness, where we have a Husker Advantage program led by Tom Lemke to really help our athletes become more marketable and benefit on how they can monetize from their name, image, and likeness. So it's ever-changing, but we've kind of built it one component at a time. And like we were talking about earlier, it's much more than service. It's really how we can develop them completely, make them a well-rounded individual who can compete with anybody. And as you know, that student-athlete experience is unique. It can make them better prepared than anybody else on campus.
I think that's probably what most people assume with life skills. Oh, it's the community service, because that's what we see right on social media. But you mentioned some of the development and some of those programs that you guys provide. Can you dive into that a little bit more and some of the specifics on when student athletes come to those summer sessions and some of those topics that you really want to hit on with them?
Yeah, so we start during our summer bridge program. That's all the incoming student athletes to Nebraska, and we really try to focus on the transition, how to get them acclimated to college life, the demands that come with being a Division I college student athlete, but really kind of teaching them how to promote who they are and how to be a responsible student athlete. And again, using your expertise to help with communication has been great. We teach them a lot about finance. We want to get them involved in the community early and often. We also want to remind them about the responsibility of wearing the N. It's a privilege to be a Nebraska student athlete, and there's a lot that comes with it. They're representing student athletes who have been a part of this program from the 1890s to the present. And so being responsible, making good choices, doing the right thing, that's the Nebraska way. And we instill that early and often at Nebraska.
I guess for fans that, again, these are all the student athletes that come through the life skills department, and you don't make them do anything, but the community service part of it. And there are some videos that people can see in pictures, but there's so much that goes unseen that people have no idea what all that these student athletes are doing. So what's the buy-in like from, again, top to bottom, all these student athletes, how much they want to get involved and want to give back to the community?
They're eager to do it, and they're happy to do it. And again, like I said, it's the Nebraska way. We try to teach our athletes that just by saying yes can really change a life. And I go back to a guy like Rex Burkhead when he met little Jack Hoffman, who had a brain tumor. Rex said, yes, I will make an experience special for you here at the stadium. And that developed into the Team Jack Foundation, and Rex is still a part of that today. So just by saying yes can change a life. And by giving a little more time can mean a world of difference. And so most of our athletes are happy to do it. They know that they will grow from it. It's mutually beneficial, and it's the Nebraska way. And to give back, we're so fortunate, Jessica, as you know, we have a fan base better than anyone in the world. And the way our athletes are supported, certainly if it's within their time demands and the parameters of compliance, by and large, our athletes from every sport, they're happy to give back and they look forward to it.
How do they go about finding where they want to give back? Because, I just did a conversation with Casey Thompson, and he wanted to go to local schools, and he plays on the playground and goes and speaks in the classroom. But there's a lot of different areas that these student athletes get involved with. How do they go about finding where they want to give back?
Yeah, we educate them on all the different opportunities. Some teams do required team service projects, so they're just a part of it, whether they want to or not. Others, like a Jenna Rogers from the track team who you've worked with, they have a vision on something they may want to create that they're passionate about. So, we are open-minded as long as we can do it within compliance. We're creative, and we want to be as inclusive as possible and expose our athletes to as many opportunities as possible. You never know what they're going to connect with. And again, it can be life-changing for them and the people that they're impacting.
And we're going to hear from Jenna Rogers on this podcast too, but she talked so highly and was so thankful and appreciative of Stacy and helping her execute her vision. So tell us about your team and who you got working for you.
Yeah, Stacy Burling is a veteran of our staff. She's going into her 13th year. She directs a lot of our outreach events and our education events. She's got a background in athletics. Tom Lemke is a baseball alum here at Nebraska. He does a lot of our career programming and is excellent in that regard. We have Kate Frazier, who's a former basketball player. Kate does a lot of our career counseling, a lot of our outreach. She does our sportsmanship pep rally, of course, that you were part of for the season opening women's basketball game. Kate also handles our Nebraska football road race that raises thousands of dollars every year for pediatric brain cancer. So I have a lot of people who really care. They like to serve. They're happy to be connected to athletics every day, and they do it for the right reasons.
How do you guys go about, you just listed a lot of things, and you didn't even mention a night at the lead. I know you guys put on the Nebraska Hall of Fame ceremony every single year. How do you guys go about, you got to be extremely organized, I'm assuming, your staff meetings, just tackling everything that you're involved with.
Yeah, a lot of it's event planning and just attention to detail. Some creativity is a part of it as well. And, we try to involve the student athletes. These are their events. So, we want to try to be as inclusive as we can, make them meaningful, make them interactive, and we draw a lot of people in. I think one key word, Jessica, for life skills is collaboration. Back in the beginning when I was a one-person operation, we needed the help of a lot of people. So we have good partners on campus, in the community, people who are willing to give and invest in these student athletes to help them along the way, and we're really appreciative of that.
How about recruiting? Because I know you spend a lot of time with recruits. What role do you have in that when these athletes come on campus? And You have any fun stories of an athlete that committed because of the impact of the life skills?
Well, life skills is a game changer. I firmly believe that. We say at Nebraska, we talk about success in athletics, academics, and life. It's who we are. And so we are involved in every prospective visit when recruits come to campus, and we're happy to do that because we think that what we have to offer is a game changer. It's a separator. So the parents, of course, they really appreciate what we have to offer because we're not only enriching their sons or daughters for the next 4 or 5 years, but for the rest of their life. So our coaches embrace it. They understand that it can be a difference maker. And again, the recruits will tell you they don't get this on every visit. Nebraska is unique that life skills is part of their visit itinerary. And so I think, as I mentioned, it sets us apart. And we've had some athletes, who have told us that the life skills program has been a defining reason why they chose Nebraska, whether it was the impact in the community that they can make or the investment we make after they graduate, which we do through our post-eligibility scholarship. There's so many different things that we offer that might connect with a student athlete that could ultimately allow them to choose Nebraska. So presenting that in a 30-minute time frame, you just never know the opportunity and the connection you might make.
It's going to be pretty cool, though, for you and your staff to get to see these young high school kids come in and then get to watch them and be with them every step along the way, from recruiting to then seeing them off. And so many of them go do so many great things. I come to you all the time about, hey, who should I talk to about this? And you've got all these lists of student athletes that are making just tremendous impacts even well after their playing time is done.
It's rewarding, and it's one of the reasons why I've stayed in it for as long as I have. I mean, to watch these athletes thrive while they're here, but then go on and become the best at what they do, either athletically or in their chosen career, it is rewarding. You met one of them today with Karina LeBlanc, a soccer standout, a goalkeeper for John Walker. She's amazing, a two-time Olympian, CONCACAF president. She's a general manager for a professional team. She's an inspiring leader, and there are so many examples of alums that we can be proud of that we did play maybe a small role in their development. It's very rewarding, and we're very proud to be a part of their life.
Well, Trev Alberts has mentioned the life skills when he was here as a student athlete, and now look where he's at.
He's my boss. So no, he's been great, and we didn't have the life skills program that we have today when he was here, but yet he found a few ways that he could benefit. He was really involved as a ambassador in our life skills program, and of course everybody would tell you that probably one of Trev's greatest strengths are his communication skills, his relationship building, and I think he would tell you that some of that came from his student athlete experience. So I believe all of our athletes in some way find something they can latch onto that they can take with them well into their future career.
You heard me saying at the top that this podcast is brought to you by Midwest Dairy, and they're talking about resetting yourself with dairy, and I said that because it is sometimes you need a little perspective. You mentioned I'd gone out to the camp, the special needs camp with Jenna Rogers, and yeah, it was just what I needed, And so when there's a lot of pressure for these student athletes, and there's so much emphasis on winning, and all of that, how important is it to have an escape like being able to go volunteer at a camp or speak at a pep rally or go to the school and all these different things that provide? How important is that perspective that they can gain by their volunteering with life skills?
I think it's a very important perspective. It's an outlet, and they enjoy it. It's a way for them to build relationships beyond their immediate team. And it also validates, Jessica, that they're not just an athlete. That should never be their identity. They're far more than an athlete. And I think when they can get in front of 3,000 students or create an everlasting outreach program like Jenna, it just proves that they have so much more to offer, and it reminds all of us that we should never just label them as an athlete or as a student athlete. They have so many talents, and we need to continue to tap into those.
There might be someone listening in that might have a suggestion of how a volunteer opportunity might want to get involved with life skills. How do you suggest they do that? Is there an opportunity to do so? Yeah,
they can just send us an email if they have an opportunity. Part of it correlates with the time demands of our student athletes. We get a lot of great ideas, but we only have them for a limited amount of time with everything else they have on their agenda. And of course, we have all the compliance parameters to work within as well. But just sending an email to anyone in our department. You can go to the life skills directory, and whether it's myself, Stacy, Tom, or Kate, we're happy to entertain any ideas that the community has.
Do you have any one favorite event that, can you put any of them at the very top?
Well, you were a part of our pep rally, our sportsmanship pep rally. Back in the 90s, for 10 years in a row, we did a School is Cool jam. And we had about 12,000 kids that packed the Devaney Center year after year. And then the very next day, we would go to North Platte and take the show on the road. And we impacted about another 4,000 kids. So just to see the impact that our athletes could have with a message and engagement and interactivity, it was powerful. And again, it really reinforced, the visibility, the power of athletics can change lives. So we're committed to it, and we know it's gonna make a difference for our athletes and many, many people in the community.
Would you have ever thought when Tom Osborne came to you with this opportunity, this department would evolve into what it is today?
Well, I'm happy it has. And Tom Osborne was an innovator. He was looking for an edge for his program. At the time, there weren't many football coaches that could sell life skills, and that's who he was and is as a person. So it fit with him, and for me to be an extension of it and now to help grow it, I consider it a great honor.
What's it like, because we're about to have another new coach that'll be taking over for the Nebraska football team. What's it like when new coaches come in and learn and get involved with the life skills department?
Well, that's the key word, is learn. We need to go educate the new coach on what we can do, how we can help, how we can serve. They have ideas, so it's kind of a give and take. We educate them on some of our programming and what we can do. They may have ideas from their previous experience or school, and we're open to that. It's a team effort, but we hope that the coach embraces all that we've put into place, and we're always eager to learn and to work with the new coaching staff.
Well, Keith Zimmer, appreciate your time and appreciate all the many things that you and your staff do, and y'all have been awesome. Tom was like one of the first people I interacted with when I took the job here to get involved with the life skills department. So big fan of you and your team and everything that you guys do.
Thanks for all you do to help us, Jessica. We appreciate it.
All right, we got much more to come here on this episode of the podcast, but up next, we're going to talk to Ethan Piper from Nebraska football. He does a lot with life skills, so we're going to hear his perspective coming up next. Late night studying, intense practice, cramming for that big test? Take a moment to reset yourself with dairy. Dairy foods like milk and yogurt allow you to stay in the game with immunity-boosting nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc, and protein to keep you fueled without the crash. Trusted by athletes and supported by science. Welcome back into the Performance Podcast presented by Midwest Dairy. We're going to continue our conversation talking about the Huskers Life Skills Department, and one of the student athletes that's gotten really involved with that area is sophomore offensive lineman Ethan Piper. So thanks for spending some time with us. I know it's a busy time of the year for you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's a great pleasure to be on the show.
Okay, well, tell us about your first perspective of the Life Skills Department and when you first realized, this is something that I want to get involved with.
Yeah, right away coming here in Nebraska, just like the emphasis they put on life skills here is way more than any other college around in the nation. And for me, just like how inviting and like how just like the mission life skills had is like, I think they were very driven to helping us grow, not even on the field or on the court, is helping us grow in all aspects of our lives. So that's been the most appealing thing, is making the best version of myself coming here for the life skills. So
why was it so important for you to immediately get involved with the community service aspect of what life skills offers?
I think Nebraska they pour a whole bunch of resources into us all the time, all athletic divisions. But I think life skills and community services is one way we could just give back, the most naturally give back. And it's just a good time just to go out and give back to what we have been getting here. So.
How important is it too? Because Keith was talking about making sure that you guys are educated and informed on things and being prepared for things outside of sports and life once sports ends. So how important is that aspect of it too, the education part that they provide you guys too?
Yeah, they do a very good job of having a whole bunch of talks and a whole bunch of opportunities for student athletes to come in and learn. I know, like, one of the most random one I always think is, like, they had, like, kind of a 30-minute seminar of how to set up an Instagram account. Like, for me, I was like, oh, like, but it's something that, like, if you don't think about it, it is a skill to have, especially in today's age.
Yeah, it's a huge part of building your brand.
Building your brand and just having that public appearance. So I think they do a good job of checking all the X's and O's, saying that, like, they hit all life, that, like, and they're tied to life skills, everything about life. So they do a very good job with that.
Okay, well, Keith was telling me you have this really neat project that you do, Little Red Letters. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think it started last year. I know Keith, they set up something of, there's a lot of actively deployed parents out, and especially the Lincoln community, and they have kids around the age of, I think it goes from like third grade until junior high. So what they started doing is they asked student athletes to have a pen pal, and just that kid it's hard having a parent leave to go out, and so they just wanted the kid to have something to be excited about and look forward to. And for me, it's been a really good experience. They came up to me, and I came up with the name Little Red Letters, and it's kind of a funny thing. But no, I think I've got a lot out of it. Especially, I've enjoyed my pen pal. He's a great guy. His name's Kason, and he just brings you back, like, gives you some more reason to play for what you do. So.
And you have student athletes that are involved from all different sports, right?
All different sports. The gymnast team, the rifle team, all soccer, everywhere. So.
Why was that important to you to get involved in that specifically?
You know, I know, especially growing up, I know how hard it is, especially if active deployed parents. I know how hard it is for kids. I grew up with a couple of them, so I know for me that's been really good, just to know that, like, I'm helping and trying to make a positive impact in these kids' lives. So.
And what does it mean to you that you've got fellow student athletes that want to be a part and help out in that area too?
I think that just speaks with the magnitude of who we're recruiting here. I think that we are recruiting good kids, and having, like I said, 40, 50 people coming to this event and helping out, I think that's just a testament of what the culture here is at Nebraska. So.
I don't think you ever get too old of getting excited about getting actually a handwritten letter in the mail. How excited do you get when Kason writes you back?
Oh man, it's awesome. He sometimes, like, I think if you ever feel down in life, you just get a written hand letter from a fifth grader, and it'll change your perspective on things. And no, I always try to read them before the games. Awesome. Especially, I got one before the Michigan game, and I read it on the plane right there, and I kind of reflect on. Sometimes, like I said, you get caught up in the X's and O's and just like the game plan and stuff for these games, and it's nice just to take a step back and realize what it's all about. So. Has
he been to a game yet?
I don't think so. I haven't met Kason in person yet. It's kind of been hard, especially with classes and like running around. But I think they're gonna definitely meet. We're definitely gonna meet them here pretty soon. So.
How cool is it too that life skills, because they have their certain events that they have that you guys get involved with that are set every year, and there's the school visits and all of that. But if a student athlete has an idea like Little Red Letters, or there was a track athlete, Jenna Rogers, who just had a camp for special needs, that if you have your own idea, they want to help you in that regard.
Yeah, they're there for just like a framework. They'll help you, guide you to the right path. But if you have something going on, they're all for it. And just like they're very supportive and very open-minded to all the ideas just to help with the community around us. So,
with with Little Red Letters specifically, if somebody's listening in and wants to get involved or has a kid that maybe they want to get on the list, how do they do that?
I would just say contact
life skills.
Life skills. I know Keith Zimmer is a great guy. He does a very good job of communicating with the public, with anybody that wants to get involved in these things. And I just say reach out to him. So.
How important is it as a student athlete? I mean, it is so much pressure, and you guys have so much going on, a lot of expectations just as an athlete, and then you're balanced being a student. To have an escape like writing Little Red Letters or going out and volunteering at an event and just kind of having that perspective, how important is that?
Oh, I think for me, it's been very, like, fundamental in my, like, just how I perceive things now. It's just like, I know, like, doing this has opened up my mind just to realize, like you get, like I said, you get so caught up in the whole game plan and, like, going in the season, like, oh, we got, like, this, we got to do this, and you get so caught up in that you forget about a lot of things that are just, like, the simple things in life. And that one of them is just writing a page letter to some fifth grader in here in Lincoln. So
Why are you wired that way to want to give back?
well, so, like, I am actually becoming a teacher here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, secondary science education is my major. I will be a third generation teacher, so my grandparents and my dad, they're all teachers. But I've always been intrigued of just giving back to people. I think teaching, I love science. I want to go teach science to kids, and I know I want to impact people's lives more than whatever money I make. So
I think you'd be a fun teacher.
yeah, I hope so. That's the plan.
Well, Ethan Piper, appreciate your time.
Yep.
Awesome to hear about Little Red Letters and all the ways that you guys are involved. I think it's important for fans to hear that, hey, it's more than just running out on a football field or
Yep.
basketball court or soccer field, whatever it might be. You guys do so many things outside of that.
Yeah, no, I think football is a great game, and 80% of it's on the field, but 20% is outside. So
All right, appreciate your time.
awesome, thank you.
Late night studying, intense practice, cramming for that big test? Take a moment to reset yourself with dairy. Dairy foods like milk and yogurt allow you to stay in the game with immunity-boosting nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc, and protein to keep you fueled without the crash. Trusted by athletes and supported by science. All right, well, as we continue our conversation on the life skills department here at Nebraska, this podcast brought to you by Midwest Dairy. I'm so excited to have a couple of track athletes joining us. We have Passmore, Mudundulu, and then also Jenna Rogers, both with the jumps with the track team. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Keith Zimmer, who we spoke to earlier, had both mentioned you guys as being very active and involved in life skills and taking advantage of the different opportunities that are available there. Jenna, we had you on in the spring and during the season, and you had talked about wanting to have this camp, and you've had this camp. So we're going to dive into all of that too. But I guess first of all, and you would probably have a different perspective too, Jenna, when you were being recruited, what kind of stood out about the life skills department? Was that something that kind of played into your decision to want to come here?
Yeah, I remember we were like doing the whole sports side of it, seeing all those facilities and then all the academics, and they're like, well, we're going to go to life skills. I'm like, what do you mean we're going to go to life skills? Like, they seriously have a whole department dedicated to that part of being a student athlete. And so that totally got me to come here. I was like, that's so cool that they see not only that we're a student and an athlete, but also that we like want to take time to volunteer and get active in our community.
And Passmore, you're from Lincoln, so what was your perspective already of the life skills department? Were you familiar with it at all, or did you kind of get involved with it once you became an athlete here?
Yeah, I honestly had no clue about it. Honestly, being from Nebraska, it was kind of like, it didn't take much on my visit to, I kind of just showed up, and I knew the whole time, just touring facilities, like I already knew I wanted to go here, but honestly, when I learned more about the life skills department, I mean, it was just like, it's just a side that no one really gets to see, and the coolest thing for me was probably hearing about like the post-eligibility scholarship they have available, and just all the different study, like abroad trips they have also, was just really great to hear from.
Why did you want to get involved immediately? I mean, you do a lot of different things, a lot of different areas, a lot of different volunteer opportunities. Why was that important to you?
I think one of the biggest things that got me involved was I had a high school coach, Coach Drought, once told me that you'd be surprised how much of an impact you can make, and my story matters. And I think just hearing that advice really helped me to kind of take that step forward. That I know that we all as student athletes have such busy days, but just taking an hour out of your day to go speak to a group of kids or work at a Special Olympics camp, like that's just 45 minutes of your day that could potentially change their life, make their whole week or month or year. And just being able to be in that position is huge, and taking advantage of the fact that you are in a position of influence and people want to hear from you and people want to interact with you. So definitely that's something that made me want to reach out and volunteer.
And Jenna, besides just the volunteer part of it, which is a big part of what we're talking about, they offer a lot of different educational type, courses that help you prepare for things outside of once you're done being an athlete or building your brand, all those different things. How important is that too? How helpful is that for an athlete to have that kind of outlet that you can learn about those kinds of things?
Yeah, I just feel like Nebraska doesn't care about, like, they care about the 4 years that you're here, but they care about what happens after the 4 years you're here. And that's something you don't see very often. So yeah, being able to learn, we had like a financial seminar the other day, which is something so valuable that we'll use for the rest of our life. And they offer resources like that, which I don't think, happen at other schools. That's something that's so specific and special about Nebraska.
All right, so let's talk about the Everybody Plays track and field mini camp that you guys just had over the last several weeks. Jenna, you were in the spring, I mentioned, and you had talked about wanting to get this going. How did you feel about how it all came together once you got it going?
Yeah, I was so nervous about it because I care a lot about how it went, and it just went way better than I could ever expect. My teammates were great. They showed up for me, and like these kids too, and they had so much fun, and I just feel like every time I looked up, everyone had a smile on their face, and that's how I knew it was just like a really special thing.
When you had heard about it, why did you want to get involved?
So just I think it was the week or two before, we had a special Olympics track event, and it was so much fun. I mean, especially because at that event we had kids from all ages, so especially hearing about the mini camp was going to be a lot more like elementary school kids. Getting to work with the younger group was something that just kind of sounded really exciting to me.
Well, tell us what all went into it, what all they got to do.
Yeah, so there was 4 stations, and they got to long jump, they got to run and hurdle, they got to throw, and they got to high jump. And then at the end, I think this was their favorite part, but we did like a little relay, and they just passed it back and forth to their teammates. But yeah, they just had so much fun going from each station, and as the weeks got on, they knew what was coming and what was next, and they got excited about each event, and it was just so cute.
And when they were doing the long jump, most importantly, they worked on their expertise of building sandcastles.
100%. We had some good ones out there.
I mean, there was a massive one when I was out there. Yeah. Tell us about the little boy you were working with when I was out there. Was that the same boy that you worked with the whole time?
Yeah, so I worked with a kid named Glenn the whole time, and I mean, honestly, kind of like Jenna was saying, they really started to remember all the events, and like we would always start off by stretching and doing warm-up, and then right after the warm-up, my kid Glenn, he would always say, high jump, like, let's go to the high jump pit. And we ended up kind of using it more as a trampoline than anything, but it was just really great to work with Glenn over the few weeks of the camp, and like just seeing me being able to build a relationship with him was something I really enjoyed, and I know his parents enjoyed it too. That was a nice part of it too.
And Jenna, that's what's cool is like, I was watching Passmore with his little boy, and all of the little kids were so kind of different and wanted to do different things, but it seemed like all of your teammates were just so willing. Okay, you want to just run up and down, the track a million times? All right, let's do it. I mean, how special was that for you to see that they were so willing and to dive into whatever the kids wanted to do?
Yeah, it was cool that we had that one-to-one relationship between the kid and like a Husker athlete, and that gave us way to like be able to do those unique things that each kid wanted. And it was just so cute seeing people adjust to what they wanted to do. It wasn't about learning how to do track. It was about just like doing what they wanted to do and building relationships with.
You have you have cousins that are autistic, and so how important is it to offer sporting events for special needs kids?
Yeah, I just, 2 things I'm really passionate about are working with special needs kids and track and field. And so I just thought, if I'm in the middle of those 2 things, I would love to give the opportunity to people in the Lincoln community to do those 2 things that I'm passionate about. And it ended up working out, like just being able to like see their classmates at an event for track and field was just so cool. Like they were just so happy to be there and be involved in something other than, like school together. It was something outside of that and like an extracurricular for them, to do track.
I had told someone, Keith actually, that it was kind of like just what I needed that night to go out there and like see that. I mean, how much perspective can you get? I mean, for student athletes, there's a lot of pressure, and you got to win, and you look across all sports. But to give some perspective of outside of the pressure of being a student and an athlete and all of that, how important is that to have kind of something like this to bring you back down and a reminder of some of the other things that are going on?
Yeah, so the camp was usually right after our practice, so it was really like nice to kind of be able to just unwind with something like that. And I think a lot of times people think about doing volunteering work as like this work, but really it's this like uplifting experience. And being able to especially build the relationships that we did, it was like ultimately like it was uplifting, and it was something that brought, like, people started looking forward to. Like people would say, like I saw teammates at the training table would say, hey, are you coming to the camp? You should come. And like bringing people who originally weren't signed up to help volunteer was just really awesome to see within the team too.
What about, I mean, because you're from here, so you have a different perspective, to see, you know, student athletes coming from all over want to give back to the community and be an inspiration to local kids here. I mean, you had talked about at the pep rally, you were one of those kids sitting in the stands at one point. How important is that, and how much does that mean to you personally, being that you're from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's really huge. I always kind of think about it a lot, too, of like, when I was in middle school and high school even, like, I always wanted to be a Husker, and I always wanted to be a Husker student athlete, and then kind of being able to be in that position now, it's like all you kind of want to do is give back to the community. And Sam Griesel, too, on the basketball team, that's something I talked to him about, too, of like, he's been really active in giving back to the community, starting volunteer outreach events, because it really is a lot more personal when you know that you're helping out your own community, and this thing that you looked up to be and this position you always wanted, you're able to get there and give it back, too, is the most important thing.
And you heard me asking about the perspective. How important is that for you, too, to have a different perspective and again, a reminder of the other things that people might be going through outside of dealing with sports all the time?
Yeah, I just feel like we learn way more from these people than they ever learn from us. Every time I go to these events, like, I come home and, again, it's just like so relieving and just like a good part of my day. And you don't find that like school, it's stressful, you know, you come home and you're stressed, or like sports, you come home and you're stressed from practice. But every time I go to these volunteering opportunities, I come home and I'm just so relieved and happy. So yeah, just that perspective of like, there's such good people out there, and I just love interacting with them and being able to spend my time with them.
And Jenna talked about just, again, how Nebraska sets you up for life once you're done being an athlete. What's your perspective on that and all the different areas that they do want to pour into you so that you are set up for life after being an athlete?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Nebraska is probably one of the best in the country at setting athletes up for success after graduation. I mean, everything from their tiered professional development. So I mean, freshman year you'll do a lot of seminars relating to moving out, creating budgets, to all the way senior year you start to have special career fairs, etiquette dinners. I mean, there's no, at least that I know of, there's no other school doing it to the level that Nebraska's doing it. And it's really great to just be a part of that. I mean, especially all the work they do in the life skills department, as Jenna was talking about, the financial seminars they host, and it's really information that everyone needs and should have, you know, because we get so caught up in athletics and school that we kind of forget that aspect of our lives. So it's great that the athletic department is able to provide that.
All right, is there going to be another camp coming up? Do we know? We working on it, in the works?
I don't know. I know a lot of parents are talking about different sports and stuff like that. I mean, I definitely want to do track again, but we'll see where it can expand.
That'd be awesome. Well, thank you guys both for your time and all that you do. And I know you guys are just both such good advocates and representatives of the university, and everyone's here so appreciative of everything that you guys do.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
All right, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Huskers Performance Podcast, sponsored by Midwest Dairy. Thanks so much to Jenna and Passmore, Ethan Piper, and Keith Zimmer for joining us on this episode, talking about all things Huskers life skills. Make sure you subscribe and like wherever you listen to never miss an episode. And thank you so much for listening. I'm Jessica Coody with the Huskers Radio Network.